Hello, my loves. My name is Jay, and welcome back to my channel. Guys, I have got a treat for you. I wasn't gonna make this video, at least not this week, but I figured I could not let my spooky month go without a proper frickin' tribute to all things scary. Now, just a disclaimer, as you've probably noticed by the title of this video, this will not be about books. This video will not be about books. Got it? Good. That does not mean that I am delving into lots of other content that is not about books. I just want to give my spooky tribute to all the good and attainable scary movies out there for the season, before the season passes us completely. It's been a crazy freaking month, and I just wanted to slow down just a little bit, enjoy my spooky little soul, and share it with y'all. So are you ready? Because I've got 31 horror movies that you can watch on either Netflix or Hulu. Also, I want you to know that I am going to share my rating for each movie or series that I will be discussing here today between, a 1 and 5 stars. So that's how we will be rating, how much I liked this, because there is so many. They sort of vary in goodness. They're still good, but they vary in goodness. So we're gonna start first with my Netflix list. Now, I have shows and movies sort of mixed up in here. I'm very sorry. I didn't have time to sort of, divide it between shows and movies, but I am dividing it by streaming provider. So at least there's that. So my first recommendation is Mary Ann. I have talked probably endlessly about this show, at least to the people in my life, and then also in a previous Witchology series or episode. Mary Ann is about a horror writer who is beckoned back to her hometown by the pleas of her old friend because her mother is on the precipice of absolute madness, and she cites a nightmarish figure of the author, and it compels the author to come back to the hometown to fight these demons, whether they're internal or external. And it is about a witch named Mary Ann. This series is absolutely freaking perfect for so many reasons, including that it's about a witch, but because it's terrifying, genuinely terrifying. And it's a series, so you get prolonged enjoyment. It's too good. It's too good. Overall, I would give Mary Ann I think I'm going to have to give it a 5 stars. It's truly 5-star material. It's terrifying. Its plotline is great. The character development is great. 100% recommend it. My second series that I would like to share with you is 2-sentence horror stories on Netflix. Guys, I don't know if this is true, but I remember 2-sentence horror stories being sort of like an internet Reddit thing. And then I saw it on Netflix and I was like, this can't be good. So I start watching it because I'm a glutton for punishment. It is excellent. Freaking excellent. It starts off with a bang, it finishes with a bang. Each and every episode is phenomenal in its own right, and they're all different stories, and they all incorporate at the very end of each episode the 2-sentence horror story that it was actually based on. It is phenomenal. There is something for every spooky loving fan out there. I would give this also another 5 out of 5 stars. My next recommendation is a movie that I saw on Netflix recently. This movie is called Eli, and Eli is about a boy who has this crazy disease that makes him sort of allergic to everything in the outside. Think Bubble Boy, but scary. He goes to get this special treatment that he has to receive in a specialized house that is sort of like sealed off from the outside world from a very specific doctor. And things sort of ensue from there. Things get crazy. There are some intense jump scares in here. There is some intense spookiness in here. Now, I am going to rate this one maybe a 2.5 to a 3 stars out of 5, only because there is an intense twist at the end that I enjoyed and then also didn't enjoy. I will not spoil anything. I think it's worth the watch, but I also think that if you have seen Eli or if you go to watch Eli, please come back and discuss with me in the comments because I need to know your thoughts. I would say that it was a terribly enjoyable view the first time. Probably not something I'll be watching again, but I definitely think that it's worth your time to sit down and see what's going on with this movie. Okay, the fourth Netflix movie that I want to show you. And also, I'm going to stop counting soon because I lose count like every freaking time that I count in anything. But the next Netflix movie that I want to tell you about is The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Guys, this movie is a masterpiece in so many ways. It has the most atmospheric of cinematography. And it takes place, most of it takes place in a morgue because the main two characters are a son and father duo who work in a morgue where they perform autopsies. Jane Doe, a mysterious body, comes into the morgue and they have to figure out how she died. And things just get freaking scary from there. Do not watch this one alone. Do not watch this one. Well, watch it at night because it's great at night, but I wouldn't recommend watching it alone. It's kind of scary. The ending is great. I felt very fulfilled by the ending. My boyfriend who I watched it with was sort of meh about it, but I absolutely loved it for a lot of different reasons that if you decide to watch it or if you've watched it before, you should come back and discuss. I would say I'd give this movie a 4.5 out of 5 stars. So the next Netflix movie that I want to talk about is The Perfection. Guys, this movie is a freaking riot of a movie. When I first watched it, I was not sure what I had just seen. It had to sit with me for a few days. That's how intense it was. And seriously, if this movie had a middle name, Intense would be that name. So it starts out with a world-class cellist coming back from a long break. She was a child star. She had a lot of family issues she needed to sort out, and she's coming back into the classical musical world. And she decides to make friends with another former child star cellist. Things get crazy, things that I was not ready for. No part of this movie did I expect any of the things that happen in this movie, truly. There was some mixed reviews about it, but I think if you don't, I don't know. I don't know how to explain. It is something to be taken seriously because there are some really serious themes, like abuse and assault and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed it for everything that it was, and I would honestly give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It has Allison Williams. It's the main girl from the movie Get Out, and I think she did a phenomenal job. I don't know why those haters are out there spewing that hate because this was a great freaking movie. The next movie that I think that you will probably enjoy, I don't know, you're here, so you're probably going to enjoy it, is the movie Apostle. Guys, first of all, I love Michael Sheen. Michael Sheen is in so many of my favorite movies. Oh, God. If you don't know Michael Sheen is, go look him up. But Apostle is about a man who goes after his missing sister and is brought to an island where there is sort of a religious cult that dwells there, and they sort of like live off the land. It's very like pagan cultish seeming. I have always been into pagan cult sort of movies like The Wicker Man and Midsummer, and if you like that vibe, you'll probably enjoy this movie. Now, I will say it is a bit of a slow burn. The first, hour and 20 minutes is sort of a lot of buildup. There's a lot to move the plot along, but I would say that it is slower in the beginning, and then the last 45 minutes, it just shoots off, and man, you're in for a ride. I would say that this movie is very dread-inducing. There are a lot of horror elements, especially towards the end. There is also a lot of fantastical elements. Not a lot. There are a few fantastical elements that I think that's probably why I enjoyed it more than I thought. I would say I would give this movie a solid 3.5 stars. It was definitely artfully done, and I would probably watch it again. Yeah. The next movie that I would love to tell you about is Malevolent. Guys, First of all, the main actress, Florence Pugh, is the main actress from Midsummer. And in Malevolent, she is part of sort of like a supernatural paranormal investigation crew, and they go to this particular house, and it turns out she has some of her own supernatural powers. So things kind of get crazy from there. I would say I would give this movie probably a 3-star. Like, it was solidly enjoyable to watch. I don't know that I ever feel like watching it again, but it's worth definitely sitting down and watching once, mostly because Florence Pugh is a fantastic actress and I love her. And the story is actually pretty good. I enjoyed learning like sort of the backstory of her and her brother in the movie. So solid 3 stars. The next thing that I would like to discuss also on Netflix is Gerald's Game. Guys, if you have not seen Gerald's Game, like, what are you doing? It's so freaking good. This movie starts off with a couple that go off to their sort of like country house to rekindle their sort of failing marriage and not so spicy sex life. And a tragedy happens while they're trying to do that, and the woman gets stuck at the house. And craziness ensues, like legit craziness. It is an excellent movie because you think it's one thing in the beginning, you think it's another thing in the middle, and it's an entirely different thing at the end. And let me tell you, the ending gave me nightmares for a week. Like, I could not talk about this movie. It was so creepy. It was so creepy for so many reasons. 100%, 5 out of 5 stars to Gerald's Game. The next movie that I'd love to talk to you about is The Ritual, also on Netflix. Guys, The Ritual I feel like people haven't been talking about this movie, and I really don't know why. It is so phenomenally excellent. I don't know how many times I'm going to say excellent or phenomenal. I should find different adjectives, but The Ritual is so artfully done, so much dread-inducing, because it starts out with a group of friends that are hiking in, I think, somewhere in Europe. They're hiking in maybe some Swedish mountains or something, and things start to go wrong when they get lost in the woods. I would describe The Ritual as very nightmarish, very hallucinogenic seeming. It's very trippy at parts, and for that reason alone, it is very scary because they're these men that are trying to bond through this hiking trip. They get lost, and scary things happen while they're lost in the woods. It's literally my worst nightmare. I would hate to be lost in some foreign country, in some woods. Like, also, just the sort of psychological undertones of this movie give it a certain depth that I really enjoyed pondering afterwards. I would say this is another 5 out of 5 stars for me. The next movie that I would love to talk to you about is In the Tall Grass. This was recently released on Netflix, and it is based on a novella by Stephen King and his son. They both went in on writing this. In the Tall Grass is basically about this patch of tall grass where trippy shit happens. A young pregnant woman and her brother get lost in it, and then more people get lost in it, and crazy things happen. It's not a very long movie, and it is very Stephen King in the sense that it's sort of trippy. Not a lot is explained at the end, but it definitely gave me the chills. And also, props to my horror husband, Patrick Wilson, because he is phenomenal in that movie. I would say I would give this movie like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Thoroughly enjoyable, would watch it again, especially for my man Patrick Wilson. My next movie that I'd like to talk about is the movie 1922. Now, this movie is also Stephen King. I think it's based on a Stephen King story. I'm not sure if it's a long book or something or other, but it's a Stephen King one. And it is basically about a man who is very attached to his farmlands. He and his wife constantly have disagreements about whether to sell the land or to just move to the city. His wife is very much pro moving towards the city. They have a disagreement, tragedy strikes, and then ghosts are involved. And it almost feels very Edgar Allan Poe in the sense that there is sort of like supernatural ghostly justice happening here. I really enjoyed 1922, and honestly, there were a lot of parts that were unsettling, and if I had to watch it again, I would. I definitely would, especially if a friend wanted to see it with me, but it's kind of crazy. Stuck with me for a little bit, honestly. I would say I would give this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. The next movie, we're still on my Netflix list. The next movie that I want to tell you about is The Babysitter. Guys, this movie is fantastic because it is not scary whatsoever. Not really. This is meant to be more of a horror comedy, and it just has the best elements of a teen scream movie. And the main actress is so beautiful, such a great actress, and just, man, it was hard not to stare at her the whole time. Definitely like girl crush forming as I watched that movie. And there was witchcraft involved, or witchcraft or demon summoning, something like that. It's an excellent movie. It's about a young kid named Cole and his babysitter, and he witnesses a weird ritual happen in his house that is curated by his babysitter, and things just pop off. Guys, if you see one movie out of this entire list on Halloween night, I hope it's this one. The Babysitter is 100% 5 out of 5 stars. If I could give it 10 stars, even though that makes 0 sense, I would. This is one of my favorite movies in the recent past that I have seen. The next movie that I want to talk to you about is Little Evil. Guys, this movie is fantastic. It is appropriate that I talk about this movie right after The Babysitter because this is also another horror comedy, and it has the added bonus of that it stars Adam Scott. Guys, I love Adam Scott. He is wonderful. I love him so much. But this movie is about a man who marries his, girlfriend, as people do. Oh my God, I'm the best at summarizing movies. But in this marriage, he inherits a stepson. Now, this stepson, there's definitely something wrong with this little boy. Let's be real. And you notice that from the very beginning of the movie, pretty much. This movie is so great. I would say it reminds me very much of sort of the classic movies like The Omen. I love The Omen, where it's focusing on the scariness of children, which I think are very scary, especially in horror movies. And I would give this movie a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I mean, it's really good. I would rewatch it any day of the week because it's funny and it's weird and it's just hilarious. I love every bit of this movie. The next movie that you can also find on Netflix is Train to Busan. Guys, if you know one thing about me, I have not zero, but I have very little love for the zombie movie genre. I'm sorry, I said it. I put it there out on the internet. I do not enjoy zombies. I think it's the same thing over and over and over again, and it just doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't frickin' appeal to me. But this is the one exception. Train to Busan is a Korean film about a father and daughter who are on a train to Busan, and the zombie apocalypse basically breaks out. And it's just them sort of trying to get to a safe spot via this train. It is an excellent movie. I was not ready for how much I loved that movie, and I would honestly say I would give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I would give it more, but I don't know. I just don't like zombie movies. But this one is a good one. I highly recommend it to people who enjoy zombie movies. Yeah. The next movie that should be on your list, especially if you enjoy a good sort of slow burn movie with an excellent payoff, is The Invitation. Guys, this is not supernatural in any way. It's more like a slasher, almost home invasion type movie. And it starts off slow and mysterious, and that I know that sometimes doesn't appeal to people, but I promise you, if you watch this movie, you will not regret it. I would solidly say this is a 4 out of 5 star movie. Basically, the main man and his girlfriend get invited to this dinner to sort of reminisce on old memories with old friends. and weird shit happens. Things get real dangerous real fast, and it is no longer a friendly little dinner between friends. It is excellent. And the ending, guys, the ending gave me chills. Like I said, did I say 4.5 or 4 out of 5 stars? I think 4 out of 5 stars, definitely. Guys, the next movie that I'd love to talk to you about on Netflix as well is the movie Creep. This movie is, well, it's creepy. It's creepy. The main dude is like a videographer. He answers an online ad to basically film this man's day. And it just sort of escalates from there. I don't know how to talk about this movie without giving away too many things. But the requests of what the man asks the main dude to film as the day goes on gets weirder and weirder. And honestly, this movie is so excellent. I know that's really freaking vague, but it's on Netflix, and I would give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It is so good. I was not ready for it. The next movie I'd love to tell you about is As Above, So Below. Guys, this movie, okay, I know I'm repeating a lot of like motions here, but this movie is so good. Like good. I have always been very much attracted to sort of like the female well, I guess Lara Croft is a female, so the sort of Tomb Raider style plots. This movie very much reminds me of a super serious, very scary sort of like The Mummy movie, except there are no mummies involved. There are scarier things involved. So basically, this very young, attractive scholar enlists the help of her friends to seek out and finish the journey that her father, who was also a scholar, was on, basically to find the Philosopher's Stone. Guys, this movie, first of all, if you're claustrophobic, be ready for this movie, because this movie gets balls to the walls crazy with that stuff. So just, you're warned. But it is so good. It is so smart. And I was discussing this movie with my manager at work because he's a fan of this as well. It's very reminiscent of themes and motifs from Dante's Inferno. So if that just gives you a picture of how like intricate this movie is, but also very attainable, very digestible. This movie is excellent. Honestly, I would give it a 5 out of 5 stars. If you like sort of that adventure, Tomb Raider, mummy style type of movie, but scarier, this is the movie for you. The next movie, also on Netflix, is Insidious. I won't talk too long about this movie. It's just phenomenal. It's basically about a young child that gets haunted by a demon. And craziness happens. Of course, the husband never believes the wife when she talks about it. This one's a 5 out of 5 star for me, honestly, guys. Like, this is my all-time favorite. Top 5. One of my favorite movies. Now, the next one I want to talk to you about is The Haunting of Hill House. If you have not seen this series on Netflix, y'all, you don't know what you're missing out on. This series is done so well and gave me so many nightmares. The cinematography is just absolutely dread-inducing. It sort of just like drags the fear from the pit of your stomach and up to your throat at certain points. And truly, the acting is phenomenal. The exploration of trauma and family grief is phenomenal. And you get a series out of it. So you really get to dig deep with these characters and all of their past. Guys, I can't say enough good things about The Haunting of Hill House. 5 out of 5 stars. Easily. Hands down. Go watch it. Now, the next series that you should also take a look at is Penny Dreadful on Netflix. If you do not watch it for anything else, you should watch it for Ava frickin' Green. Listen, I would marry that woman if I could. She is the most, she is just pure sexuality. Just by looking at her, the way she glares into your soul with those moody eyes and those pouty lips, man. I mean, guys, she's got my heart. But she is excellent in this movie because she's basically a Victorian goth princess. That's the vibe she gives off. I enjoy this movie or this series so much because it incorporates so many classic horror themes and characters, and it just has the best atmosphere. I love Gothic Victorian settings, and this is just rich with it. I would say I've seen all the episodes up until what's on Netflix, and I would say this is a solid 4 out of 5 stars. The next movie I want to talk to you about, I have mixed feelings about. It is called Friend Request. It is also on Netflix, and I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Not to dissuade you from watching it. It is a fun time. It is a good ride, but it is not your deep, exciting, like trauma exploring sort of horror movie. Like if you're coming for profundity and depth and exploration of the human condition, this is not going to be your movie. This movie is definitely sort of like a teen scream sort of movie, lots of fun. My bias for this movie is only because there are witchy parts to it. So 2.5 out of 5 stars. It's worth the watch. Probably not watching twice, honestly. The next movie I want to tell you about is Life After Beth on Netflix. Guys, hands down a fantastic movie, mostly because of the cast, I'll be freaking honest. Aubrey Plaza is the starring, and she is phenomenal in it. Just her normal crazy ass self. And then her sort of supporting role, or rather also the starring, is Cole DeHaan, who's very pretty to look at, let's be real. But this is basically about a boyfriend whose girlfriend gets turned into a zombie. And he just spends most of his time trying to keep her from getting into trouble as a zombie. This is a horror comedy, pure and pure horror comedy. I honestly would give this a 4 out of 5 stars. This is just a great ride, lots of fun, and I really laughed out loud at some of these parts in this movie because Aubrey Plaza is just fantastic. So the last movie that I have on my Netflix list is the movie Headcount. Now, I'm still sort of processing this movie, I'll be honest. I saw this movie only recently, and it is basically about a bunch of teenagers that are out in the desert sort of partying, and they somehow sort of awaken this demon thing. It's not your typical notion of demons, and it basically, I can't say much more, otherwise I'll reveal everything. But things get real trippy out there in the desert and very confusing. But at the end, at the peak of everything that happens throughout the movie, it is definitely worth the watch because mostly my confusion was confusion out of fright, if I'm being honest. I would give this movie a solid 3 out of 5 stars, and mostly because I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed pondering it. And I really liked how sort of original it was. I haven't seen a movie quite like this before. So I've got a couple on my Hulu list left until we reach the full 31 recommendations. So the first on my Hulu list is the show The Exorcist. Yes, guys, if you have seen the original movie The Exorcist, this show is basically about the life after Reagan, the main girl from The Exorcist, the one who gets possessed, grows up, has a family of her own, and is sort of suffering the repercussions of being that possessed young girl and all the weird things that come with it, and how her family is still vulnerable to all the evil that wrecked her life when she was a young girl. I have not finished this series, to be honest. I just haven't had time. But so far, the acting, the plot line, just everything, this is currently a 5 out of 5 stars for me. I really love anything about possession and exorcisms. So I really enjoy this show. The next movie I want to talk to you about is the movie Pure on Hulu. Now, this movie, I will say, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 3 out of 5 stars. It started out very interesting and promising, and then it sort of like fizzled out towards the end. I'd be interested to see if anyone has seen this movie and if they'd like to discuss with me, because I really enjoyed the plot and the premise and sort of like the themes. There are a lot of feminist themes that were explored here, and I liked it for that. I'm not entirely convinced it was executed the best, but I really loved the antagonist here, and the supernatural elements were very scary at certain points. Like, I was like, why am I watching this alone? So 3 out of 5 stars for the movie Pure. The next one that I would like to talk to you about is Little Monsters. This, guys, is my second zombie movie on this list. I would give this a solid like 3.5 out of 5 stars, maybe even 4. It is good because it's not scary at all. This is pure horror comedy, and that's how I like my zombie movies. Zombies just don't scare me. Not really. Like, unless they were here at my doorstep, that's when they would scare me. The fact that this is a zombie horror comedy, it works. And the main character is Lupita Nyong'o, and she played the mom in the movie Us. Guys, she is phenomenal and freaking beautiful. And for her alone, I would watch this movie. The next movie is the movie Ghost Stories on Hulu. Guys, this movie was very interesting. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4 out of 5 stars because there were so many different elements to this movie. It's very hard to explain. But basically, it starts out with he's like a paranormal hunter, I think, or a reporter, but he's very skeptical. He is down to collect all these ghost stories, but he sort of picks them apart and debunks them. He's sort of like a British Mythbusters. And the main character is Martin Short. I freaking love, not Martin Short. Is it Martin Short? Just kidding. The main character is Martin Freeman. He is probably most well known as Dr. Watson or Watson from the Sherlock Holmes series with Benedict Cumberbatch. This movie is very good. It is very artfully done. It is very scary and trippy. Like, things happen and you're just not ready for them, honestly. It's worth the watch. And there was a part in the movie where they were in an asylum or an abandoned building of sorts. I nearly peed myself, I'll be honest. I don't like it when they go in asylums. So scary. Anyway, this is, did I already give it my rating? It's 4, I think a solid 4 out of 5 stars or 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really love that one. The next movie that is on Hulu as well is VHS. VHS, I've already discussed in a previous movie listing. It is so good. I'm not going to get into it. Basically, it's an anthology movie of different scary stories that sort of connect at the end. So good. 5 out of 5 stars for one of the scariest movies I've seen. The next movie that I want to tell you about is sort of like in between horror and sci-fi. More sci-fi, honestly, is Annihilation starring Natalie Portman. This movie is excellent, guys. Like, excellent. Now, to be fair, I don't necessarily understand all of the movie. I had to actually look it up afterwards, but I would say that was a very small portion of what I took away from the movie. It was just, the cinematography was beautiful, the CGI was really intense and gorgeous, and there were parts that were very dread-inducing. It felt sort of like a cross between the movie Alien and maybe Resident Evil / Predator. There are just some moments that I'm like, I don't want to be there. And Natalie Portman, that's my girl. Oh, I think I would give that movie a 4 out of 5 stars. Very, very good movie. The penultimate movie, the second to the last recommendation that I have for you, is A Quiet Place with Emily Blunt and my man, John Krasinski. Can we just talk about John Krasinski's glow up since The Office? Oh my God. I don't even have words. But A Quiet Place is so good because they are haunted by not haunted, but the world has been sort of taken over by these aliens that, are they aliens? I don't know, by monsters that basically track you via sound. And it is so good. I don't really have a lot of words for it other than that. Just the fact that you have to be quiet throughout most of the movie is so dread-inducing. And of course, there is talking. Things happen. You're not just staring at people mouthing things at each other. The acting is excellent. The plot is excellent. And honestly, if you go to watch it just for Emily Blunt and John Krasinski, I would give this movie a 4.5 out of 5 stars, hands down. My last but not least recommendation on Hulu is Scream Queens. Guys, I just started watching this show. Can I just say that Emma Roberts is my spirit animal? She is such a major bitch, but I love it. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Things happen in this series that I just freaking outrageous. So basically it's based around a sorority house. There's a slasher on the loose and they're just getting killed one by one. It's basically very reminiscent of almost every teen Scream movie in the past. And it just pays excellent, hilarious homage to those classics. And Jamie Lee Curtis is in the series. So you know it's got to be good. And it is. It is, guys. All right. This was a long freaking list. 31 recommendations for all 31 days of October. That's basically past, but you've got time to binge, right? All right. If you enjoyed this list, please let me know in the comments what you've seen, what are your favorites, what are you hoping to watch from this list. And don't forget to subscribe, like the video, it would mean a lot to me. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you always know when I'm bringing good things to you. Bye, y'all.